American Craftsman Podcast is proud to partner with Montana Brand Tools. The West was built by people with strength and great pride in their workmanship. It was a necessity that early settlers of Montana have a strong will, a resilient character, and great determination to tame the rugged landscape while adapting to its dramatic climate. That spirit, made in the USA pride and craftsmanship, is alive today, both in how Montana Brand tools are manufactured and how they perform. Montana Brand power tool accessories are manufactured utilizing proprietary, state-of-the-art CNC machining equipment and the highest quality materials available. Montana Brand tools are guaranteed for life to be free of defects in material and workmanship because we build these tools with pride and determination. Montana Brand tools are manufactured by Rocky Mountain Twist, located in Ronan, Montana. Montana Brand's heritage comes from a long line of innovative power tool accessories. Use coupon code American Craftsman for 10% off your order at montanabrandtools.com.
All right. We're rolling. Coming at you from high in the Custard Dome, episode 48 of the American Craftsman Podcast. You get that reference.
Score 10 for you.
Yeah, 100 out of 10. Well, here we are again.
Yeah, you could see I remembered to bring
Yep.
Keith's bottle opener, so it's starring right front and center now.
Although we just went out today and bought a month's worth of podcast beer, none of which is in a bottle.
Yeah, in cans, of course.
But it's there at least.
Yeah.
You can see the cherry on that's nice and dark because the table is darkening up, even though it's down here with no sun.
Still got oxygen.
Yeah.
Should we bust out the beer of the week?
Yeah, might as well. Might as well. Yeah, we took a trip today to a liquor store in Long Branch called Court Liquors. Oh, you know what? Let me get the B-roll going. And they have a really good selection of beers, so we figured let's go down to Court Liquors. We'll grab a handful of beers, and we'll be set, for a while. So what do we got?
Is this, they say that Rogue?
Rogue, yeah.
Hazelnut Brown Nectar. It's ale with a natural hazelnut flavor, and it's dedicated to Chris Studak and homebrewers everywhere.
Ooh.
It's kind of light as far as alcohol by volume, right? 5.6%.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
for like a craft beer.
A nutty twist to a traditional European brown ale. Dark brown in color with a hazelnut aroma, a rich nutty flavor, and a smooth malty finish.
Oh, Newport, Oregon. I don't know why I thought Rogue was in California.
Yeah, I like the way it sounds. They say this is especially good to be paired with a grilled cheese sandwich, pork chops, and bread pudding. I'm not sure if that's one meal.
They're talking like craft singles on Wonder Bread?
Probably not. We're talking about homemade bread, thick sliced, some of that
a little like sourdough action.
Kerrygold butter slathered on before it hits the pan.
Does have a hazelnut aroma to it. Clearer than I was expecting. I was expecting some haziness, some cloudiness. I think this is one of those beers where one can is probably
gonna be it.
Mm-hmm. Definitely yeasty.
Yeah. Oh, I got toast.
Well, cheers.
Cheers to you.
Cheers to all you out there. I'll give you a little B-roll view of the beer in the glass. This glass looks huge from this angle.
It's nutty.
It's good.
Yeah.
If you like beer and you like this glass, you can join us this weekend, Saturday, August 7th at Belford Brewing Company.
Yeah, nice tie in there.
Belford, New Jersey. From 2:30 p.m. to, what are we saying, 6 p.m.?
Yeah, I think
something like that. I think that's when they close.
Yeah.
We're gonna try and hang out outside. We don't want to be responsible for anybody's illness here.
Yeah.
Things are starting to heat up again in New Jersey and more so in other places. So we're trying to be responsible, but
Yeah.
If you're unwell, don't come because
Right.
you're just going to look like a dick.
Don't sugarcoat it.
Yeah. But yeah, it should be a good time. Know a bunch of people who are coming. We'll have glasses, like we've been saying, and some other stuff. So
I'm really looking forward to it.
yeah, it'd be a good time. It's supposed to be a nice day. I think last I checked, like 80 and sunny. So
Nice.
I mean,
nice.
they have a little outside area that's perfect weather for being outside. 81 and cloudy, which that's
That
actually
might be
probably
all right.
even better.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, hey, it should be a good time. We got a Facebook event if you want to. I mean, nobody's really. More people have told me personally that they're coming than have responded to the Facebook thing. But I have it up there with some info on there if you want to take a look.
Good, yeah.
Yeah, it'll be in the description. So yeah, hey, I mean, you guys know where that brings us.
Tool of the week.
Tool of the week.
Yeah. Well, I'm wearing long pants down here in the chill of the basement,
Mm-hmm.
and I got my sleeves on, but that's because I'm going to meet John Peters after. I've been bugging him to go out and check out the beehives, and tonight's the night after the podcast. So
Yep.
he said, wear long pants and everything. And the reason I mention that is I'm going to blow John Peters' mind with the tool of the week. Because here it is. The Makita biscuit, or sometimes known as plate jointer.
That's right. And what come on there, cell phone.
This is the cordless version, which
Yeah.
makes it especially nice. Now, we got this for this commercial job we were doing when we were joining all these pieces of, what do you call that stuff for the trees and the...
The
what-
the like industry term is TFL, but I mean
Yeah.
I always just refer to it as melamine. But I don't know if melamine is more specific to
Yeah.
just like your white,
Right.
smooth.
It had that brown texture that we chose, so it looked more like a, an artistic bark.
Yeah, what was that called? Rutherford. They have these stupid names.
Well, we got it specifically for that job, and I have to say I've broken this tool out on basically every job since.
Yeah, and we it's funny, you brought up with John why you're gonna blow his mind because I had known John for several years. We used to talk on Instagram, and we're local to each other, so we had a friendship through Instagram. And then when John finally came to the shop, I forget how it came up. We were talking about, and we're like, he was asking about a biscuit joiner. We're like, we don't even have a biscuit joiner.
No.
Like we don't feel the need to even have one. And John was like, what? Like, what do you mean you don't have a biscuit joiner?
We kind of offended him a little bit at first, I felt.
Maybe, yeah. It was just one of those things that, like, we don't have one. We have the domino, and we make do. If there's a situation where the domino won't work, it's like then we just don't use anything.
Yeah. He's like, how could you not have a biscuit joiner? I love the biscuit joiner.
Yeah, and I was saying the other day, like the biscuit joiner is one of those things where, like, we're going up that sconce for Tommy G, Manhattan Stained Glass, which was
What shape would you call that? Trapezoidal?
Yeah, like a trapezoidal prism.
Mm-hmm.
So the basically three face frames shaped like trapezoid. Well, two triangles. Well, no, three trapezoids, and the sides butt into the back edge of the fronts.
Mm-hmm.
Like imagine you're building a face frame with a return finished panel on it. Don't need a biscuit there. It doesn't add anything to the strength or anything, and it's really. Like the alignment is, you don't need it to align it. But with this thing, in 30 seconds, I just popped 3 biscuits in it and it, am I fine without it? Yeah, but we have it now. So it's quick and easy.
Yeah, it's really accurate. It's a typical, tool of its sort, but it just kind of does it well.
Yeah.
Because we've used a few different brands,
Yeah, I mean, lamellos, everything.
And to me, the thing, not having that cord in the way,
Yeah.
because we do use it with the vacuum port, so it's not that it's totally untethered, but not having that cord in the way makes a big difference, I think, too.
Yeah, and the nice thing about this, here, let me see it, is when you sit it on the base,
Yeah,
it stands up because there's a little, like a kickstand on the back where, at Tom's shop, he had a lamello, not a Zeta or anything, just like the most basic lamello. You put that thing down, and it's like tipped like this because they're just they're not weighted right. So this you can sit, and I like to reference off a flat surface like that a lot of times when you're joining flat pieces to one another.
Yeah.
Because the fence, it could be inaccurate if you're not holding everything perfect, especially with small parts. It's really nice to be able to reference off of a table.
Yeah, your bench, stuff like that.
So, yeah, I mean, I've been really happy with that.
It's funny because it started off, all right, I'm going to use it because I happen to be working on that part of the job, so I busted it out, and I was a real, not a
non-believer?
Not a hater, but close.
Yeah.
Pretty close.
I mean, we were looking at the Zeta P2, which is like the $1,500 lamello that does all the connectors and stuff, but decided that the job at hand didn't call for it.
Yeah.
So it's like $200 some odd dollars versus $1,500. We'll just go with the basic one.
Yeah, and we're part of the Makita battery platform,
yeah.
So that works its way into our shop. But it feels good, and like today, same thing. I said, let me throw a couple of biscuits in here. I was pocket screwing the thing together, but
the countertop.
Yeah. But it's nice, and I like it. I really like it.
Yeah, it's quiet.
Yeah.
It cuts. I mean, we'll see how the blade holds up, but I mean, we cut probably, I don't know, 250 biscuits with it so far.
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, and it's still very sharp. And cutting into those TFL panels, I mean, that stuff is nasty on any type of blade.
Yeah, I know, the glue.
It does have big carbide teeth. The cutter itself. Let me see if.
And the biscuits really seem to fit in there nice too. I mean,
well, that's because we're using real lamello biscuits. Well, here, I'll turn it on. It's got that quintessential biscuit joiner wind down sound. Why do they all do that? I don't know what it is about. Basically, these are a grinder with, a plunge base on them. Because I have the Makita grinder, and it's basically identical to this.
Yeah, so John Peters, whenever he hears this episode, I'm sure he's going to smile a little bit.
You might have to bring it over tonight. I know John's a Milwaukee guy, but he may be swayed.
Yeah, so if you're in the market for something like this, I really like the fact that it's, cordless.
Yeah, and I think of, the cordless as on a job site, you might need, it's always nice to have a biscuit joiner on the job.
Yeah.
Especially if you're doing, these weird kind of things like that tree that we built. So, you might be up on top of a scaffold or a ladder,
right.
Or, joining a fascia to a cabinet, something, whatever. And, it'd be good for that.
So there you go. There'll be a link down at the bottom of the page, right? Like usual.
Yep.
And check it out.
The Makita XPSJ06 or something like that. XJP03. That was pretty close.
You got some memory.
Only for the important stuff, like biscuit joiner model numbers.
When's your anniversary? Quick.
10/1/16. I almost forgot. I could have sworn there was something that I thought I was forgetting, and then now I'm forgetting what it is.
Well, we mentioned the meetup.
Yep. I got that on
We got
there.
the beer. We got the tool.
Mm-hmm.
And that brings us up to the questions.
Yeah, I
unless there
guess.
was something else.
I don't
But
think so.
It might come to you.
We got a decent amount of questions this week. You guys were slacking last week, and you made up for it this week. We got a full 2-pager.
The first question.
Yeah. I'll read this so that you can answer it. If this is from Nick Trayer on Instagram. We got a couple guys who asked a lot of questions this week, which I like. If you could go back in time, what would you say to Tom at Tom's shop?
Boy, I mean, there's so many instances. You know, if I knew how things were going to transpire. Tom is very non-confrontational, and I'm kind of the opposite when it comes to stuff like that. Where,
not typically though, but you could be driven to that point by Tom,
right?
Because of his demeanor.
That's a good way to put it. I try to be democratic and kind and all these things, but with Tom, I didn't really let too much slide by because he had reached his limit.
Mm-hmm.
I would definitely like to say some things to him when he was telling me to stay home for 2 weeks.
That 2 weeks is about up, huh?
Yeah,
I think it's been about 13 days now.
I think he's about ready to call me back anytime now. So maybe he'll stop by on Saturday.
Maybe
he's got a job offer.
Yeah. That's crazier things have happened.
Oh yeah. So one thing about Tom, he overlooks a lot of stuff,
That's for sure.
So maybe that's one of the good things you could say about Tom. Man, we said so much. We really aired our grievances on a regular basis
pulled
down
no
there.
punches.
But wow, I would say that it really was a blessing that in disguise, because I would easily still be there.
Yeah.
Kind of biting my tongue like everybody does there,
Mm-hmm.
and living with the frustrations of seeing something that could be, a really good gig, just, kind of be a really bad gig.
You could just shave 10 years off your lifespan.
Yeah. What would I say to him though?
I'm gonna have to agree with you though. I'm non-confrontational. I do a lot of talking. Especially if we're driving, stuff like that. But I'm not gonna confront anybody. Just because it's too much hassle. It's not it's not worth anything. It's better to just vent to yourself and but
you always
like
let
you
Tom
said,
know what was on your mind.
Right. With Tom, I didn't pull any punches because, he would just get you to the point of, complete and utter frustration. Where basically you just tell him like it is. So I don't have anything to say to Tom because I let it all hang out anyway.
Yeah. I would have liked to, if I would have known what was coming, I would have liked to, make him a little uncomfortable, when he was trying to send me home, say you sure you're going to call me back? This isn't your way of telling me that you want to fire me, is it? Just to see if I could get him to say it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we pretty much said what we liked at Tom's.
And we don't dwell on that past because that was just a stepping stone.
Yeah, it's a joke now, a running gag of sorts.
One of several.
But as they say, things happen for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
We got to work together. We met. and we forged what would be the beginnings of Greene Street before it was Greene Street, and then it became Greene Street.
We got to meet, Manny and Lou and all kinds of other people.
We still got good friends through there.
Yeah, so, as much of a dipshit as Tom is, there was some green grass there.
Plenty of positives.
Yeah.
Plenty of positives that come from it. But that was a good question, Nick. Thank you. You want me to read this next one from Matt?
Sure.
One of our patrons. Matt's Hey Good Hardwoods on Instagram. And he's asking us, what has been the job or project where you learned the most?
Well, for me, these questions are always hard for me. These like very what's the word I'm looking for? Not definitive, but these like really specific about the most X circumstance. So this is probably not the one, but the one that sticks out to me, not the one in actuality. You know what I mean? This is the one that's popping into my head. Would be the chaise lounges for Celaya, where we tried to steam bend.
Yes, we learned the hard way. A lot of stuff.
Yeah, it was just a lot of hitting our head against the wall trying to figure this out. So yeah, I mean that's the one that sticks out in my head is trying to steam bend the white oak to build these chaise lounges.
Yeah, I like that one. That's true because we learned a lot, because we really stepped way out on a limb on that one, and we were trying things that, many thought could not be done, and they were pretty much right. If we had been better equipped with steel jigs and forms and everything,
some green wood,
we might have been able to pull it off. But
I think now if we had like a little bit of time, we could definitely get everything,
Right, we'd weld up the forms and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Like that guy who was making the parts, that when we watched that video, he was steam bending the
wagon wheels?
Yeah.
Or even like Craig's got that T-welded thing.
Let's see. Learn the most. I learn a lot from, seeing different tools in use. One of the things I watched mostly as you did the shaper work on those lounge chairs, I would say anything that had to do with the shaper, I learned, even if I wasn't on it.
Yeah.
This last thing with the sconce was really my first independent shaper work, and I was using that little tiny router bit. So that was a great
minimal clench factor.
Yes, that was a great way to enter into it.
Yeah.
But that's the tool, the machine I'm most unfamiliar with.
Right.
So I would say that was a biggie.
I'm trying to think of. We learn stuff on every job because purposefully, the job we're going to work on after these last two are wrapped up, that we're working on now, we're going to be. I guess what we're doing is stuff we've done before, but like we're going to be vacuum bag veneering doors, which we've done, and we're buying the veneers are pre-laid up, so we're easing our way into laying up veneers ourselves, but typically we don't build doors that way, but this job that's coming up, we said, hey, we're gonna do it this way.
It calls for it. It could happen that way.
We could just use plywood, but this is gonna be better.
Yeah, and we want to do with the solid wood edging, where you veneer over the top of it.
Yeah, so we're taking 5/8 Baltic birch. We'll put a 5/8 edging on 4 sides, and then veneer up 4 doors with 16th inch veneer that we're getting laid up by these guys in Indiana.
Yeah,
Superior Veneers. Seem like good guys. They make thick. They specialize in thick veneers, because that's what we want to use is a nice 16th inch veneer.
Yeah.
Maybe next one we resaw it ourselves, or we go with a more traditionally thickness of veneer and lay them up. Damn, I'm just like, my watch is going crazy. Celaya Concierge.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, guys. Got distracted. Forgot that we're doing a podcast. I'm getting texts about jobs. I don't even remember what the hell I was saying.
Well, you were talking about, what were we talking about? Job where we learn stuff and the veneering, and next time we might do something a little bit different. But that's kind of it. We try and learn something each job as well, or incorporate something we've seen or have been inspired by. So, and just in general, I mean, like the confessionals, we learn stuff. We just by putting in the heating elements, and there's always the mechanical stuff.
Yeah, the lighting, all that.
Yeah,
really, the job where we learn the most is the next job.
That's it. Because we're totally ignorant about that right now.
Yeah.
Not totally, but there's that element that we haven't experienced yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Next question comes in from Brian, Great Point Woodworks on Instagram. Building Adirondack chairs. What's your choice of wood for outdoor furniture? Cost matters.
Oh, well, if cost matters, I think we'll agree on the easy answer for us now, right?
I think we will, but...
All right, you say it. Let's say it together.
1, 2, 3, Sapele. Yeah, I mean, Sapele is, I wouldn't say it's cheap.
Yeah, comparatively.
It's cheaper than oak or walnut or...
teak.
Oh, yeah, way cheaper than teak. It's a good outdoor wood, cheaper than Ipe.
Easier to work than those super hardwoods too.
Yeah, it's dense, but it's not not super difficult to work with. It takes on nice color outside.
Mm-hmm.
You can find it for about $6 a board foot. That's you can find it for cheaper than that, which I think is pretty cheap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like maple cheap or cherry cheap, but
no.
Although maple's gone up a little bit.
I wonder, like out on the West Coast, if they're still
redwood.
Yeah, using redwood.
Not really.
It was like pine basically at the turn of the last century.
Oh yeah.
And when I lived out in San Francisco, when you would be in these old houses and you'd strip down 20 layers of paint, like these were painted originally. Painted. It was all redwood.
Yeah.
That was paint grade wood for them back then.
Well, those trees are so goddamn big.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I mean, there's companies now that what they do is they dismantle redwood water towers and they sell the wood.
Yeah.
And it's about $30 a board foot. It's expensive.
Wow. Yeah, because I mean that would be the only other wood that I could think of. Cedar.
Yeah,
that's
just too soft.
Yeah.
I mean, white oak is great outside, but I mean, I guess if you use flat sawn, the thing is, you really want to use quarter sawn outside. You can get quarter sawn Sapele for, like I said, $6, $6.50 a board foot. Quarter sawn white oak, you're talking $8, $9 right now.
Yeah, and it's
probably more
hard to get.
Those are wholesale prices. You're buying at retail, you're only buying 20, 30 board feet. You're talking $10 plus a board foot.
Yeah.
When I talk to guys that are paying $15 a board foot for walnut, $18
That's insane,
a board.
Is it?
Yeah, I mean, walnut was $5.40 a board foot not that long ago.
I don't know. I mean, it's got to slow down at some point.
Yeah, we'll see.
Yeah,
I was watching a thing on supply and demand last night about elasticity, and it's a very complicated thing. There's elasticity in supply and demand and inelasticity. It's a whole crazy thing.
Yeah, everybody's a little bit gun shy about how long things are going to last.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's shortages or booms.
Yeah.
And even when things are booming now, people are, because the last time things boomed, it dried up really quickly afterwards.
Yeah, well, there wasn't even a boom. It was just there was such a drop off.
Yeah.
that, they never really recovered and the prices were super low.
Yeah.
And now, you can tell me you're going to invest millions of dollars in infrastructure of your company when,
Right.
2 weeks from now, the real estate market could crash and there's no demand for your product anymore.
Yeah. Everybody's kind of happy to just be, working at capacity and turning down things rather than trying to fill every order.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of conjecture about, this is all, prices are rigged and this and that. And it just shows how uneducated people are about supply chain and, how these things actually work. How fragile the supply chain really is.
A good conspiracy theory is it's a lot easier to
control
believe.
the population by jacking up the price of plywood. They can't have babies. They don't have houses to live in.
There you go. I love this next question.
This came in. I'm sitting on the couch this morning about 5:05 a.m.
You read it.
Question, boys. Apart from the ugly Adirondack chairs that you have to crawl out of, any aspirations on building or plans to develop your own chairs anytime soon? One you could sit in when doing the podcast. Love all the other comments. Maybe I can suggest the wives do their own podcast. Lend them the gear. That's from Colin, one of our patrons, Beaver Badger on Instagram. Colin's building a kiln.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I think he's probably just about done now.
Oh man, I love that's question of the year right there.
That's pretty good.
Yeah. We have totally thick skin about everything.
I guess Colin's not making it to meetup.
Yeah. Colin's referring to our Adirondack chair plans. Yeah, those are tried and true. Those things are proven.
Yeah. I spent a good bit of time sitting in one.
Yeah. We have the prototypes that are probably about 15 years old sitting out in the weather. It's like that those Benjamin Moore paint sample places where they paint the shingles and then they leave them out in the sun and the rain and everything. Then they go back and check on them. That's what we did with our Adirondacks.
Yeah.
There's not enough hours and not enough days in the week. That's about what it comes down to. We
barely got enough time for this.
Right. We would love to do all that stuff.
Yeah.
But it's like a luxury item. Yeah, we're still embroiled in just the meat and potatoes.
Yeah, I mean, we sold maybe a dozen sets of those plans.
Yeah, we gave away a few.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking would make $100. Sold sales are $100, and it cost 2 full days of Rob's time to make them. So we're at a net loss of go figure. No, we're not. If we were one of these big content creator people who's got 1 billion followers, then we could make plans and sell them for a profit. But nobody wants to buy our plans.
No. And the truth is we're more excited about getting tidbits of information from a would-be client and creating something fresh and new.
Yeah, yep.
That's the part that really, gets us going.
Yeah, I find design without some sort of direction is difficult too. Could I pick out of a hat? All right, I'm going to build a transitional style buffet and then sit down and try and design something. Yeah, but that's not, it seems, I don't know, weird.
Yeah, we like to have some goal in mind, like when we start.
Yeah, like I want somebody else to figure out all the need to the necessary information or the requirements, and then design from that.
Yeah,
I don't want to have to start from just a blank canvas and come up with something that's a little too far ahead of my skill set.
Yeah, the other thing is when we've tried to do something like that, we sort of box ourselves into this idea that we're going to please everyone in every situation.
Yeah.
And it makes it almost impossible. It's like, well, we're going to do this coffee table. Yeah, but what if they wanted it like this instead of like that?
You find that a lot of these spec-built pieces of furniture that aren't like something kind of run-of-the-mill are very impractical typically. They're just kind of form over function and don't really suit like actual use.
Yeah, it's a gallery piece.
Yeah. I don't know what fucking gallery these things are in, but...
I'm not going to say anything. But yeah, like a dining room table where it looks great in a photo, but, everybody's knees are going to hit, where they're trying to, sidle on up to the table and that kind of thing, or where it's totally unstable. It's just set up there for a picture.
Yep.
And what you don't see is it's leaning on a stick to hold up a corner of it.
That's where ropes come from ceiling to hold it up.
That's not unheard of. So, no, the response to the Adirondack chairs has kind of settled us into the idea that we should stick to just building on a commission basis.
Yeah.
Unless Colin's got some other ideas.
That's true. You can send us some of that nice Australian wood he's got.
Yeah. All right, I'll read this next one. I'm really interested in that dowel technique I saw you use for the oak Dutch door. Am I correct to assume you drilled the dowels post-assembly through the joint to reinforce, then cap the dowels with a false through tenon? I've always liked the floating tenon plunge router jig method, but deep mortises can be a challenge in wide style doors. Domino XL is cool but expensive, and I wouldn't use it as much as my 500. That dowel technique seemed like a good economical way to get a strong door. That's from Parsons Woodwork on Instagram. It's pretty much right on there, right?
Yeah. I couldn't find your name. You're a slippery fellow there on Instagram. Your government name. Yeah, I'm glad somebody liked the technique because I got a lot of shit over that. I don't know what everybody's problem is. You should have used real through tenons. Okay, let's just make the door cost twice as much as it costs now.
We're working within the realities.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're gonna cut 8 through tenons on the door.
Yeah. So,
you're right. That's what we did. We, it's a cope and stick door, so the tenons are only, 5/8 long. So stub tenons like that. It's not strong enough for a door like that. The door is too big. There's too much movement. It's an exterior door. So yeah, there's a couple ways to go. Like you said, you could do a big slip tenon with a router. You could do a through tenon with a router. You could, build it with through tenons. The DF 700, you could use that. The big domino.
Mm-hmm.
What we decided to do was cut a mortise on the outside. We sunk in, 4?
Yeah.
4 like 10-inch long, 3/8 inch dowels going into a 5/8 wide tenon, going through, through the stiles into the rails, so going dead center, and then covered up with an end grain plug that it makes it look like a through tenon,
Right.
Going in a house that would have doors built that way with through tenons, so, match the look of the time period.
Right. If that's a tried and true method.
Yeah, people build, blind doweled doors like that all the time.
Mm-hmm.
We just did it,
We just covered the end with a different look rather than you see in the...
Yeah, or some people do them blind, so it's
yeah.
only on the inside, but then you got to worry about lining all those things up.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a doweling jig. It's not something that we do. So this was really killing 2 birds with 1 stone. It was making a door that was more, looked more period appropriate and was stronger than what it would have been otherwise.
Just using the cope and stick joint. That probably would have failed because the homeowner is going to be responsible for the upkeep of the door and the weather. And up here we get all 4 seasons. It could be tough on something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a door that operates a lot.
Mm-hmm.
and it's big. I mean,
Yeah.
you're talking a 9-inch rail on the bottom.
That thing was heavy.
Yeah.
All right. So if he's got any questions, I mean, I think he's got it sorted out.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, and there's, you could probably do that several different ways.
This next question.
Got one here from Ryan, RP Woodwork on Instagram. How big is your shop?
Not big at all.
Subjective, but yeah, I'm going to have to agree.
Oh, yeah, yeah. It's 24 by 36 on the pad. That's the outside dimensions.
Mhm.
It's essentially like a 2-car garage, right?
Yeah, so it must be 23 by 35, roughly 22 by 34 on the inside.
And it's jammed with stuff, but it's typically not messy jammed. It's, we spend a lot of time sorting out where the machines are going to go, the work path. And when something new comes in the shop, we try and figure out where it's going to go. A lot of things have been stored over there in Deadwood Gulch lately.
Yeah. I mean, like right now, it's packed. We got ropes in there for the commercial job. We got a cabinet, all these glass panels, glass for the wine cabinet. I mean, it's full. It's full of jobs.
And besides, yeah. So you can get a lot done in a small place.
Yeah.
And we don't move tools around or anything like that.
No.
Once in a while, we got to slide the shaper out of the way if we're using the crosscut sled for something big.
Yep.
But other than that, everything's pretty much good to go where it is.
Yeah.
So give us your best. We had a week to get X done story. That's from Matt, patron. I know a guy, Viz, on Instagram. This guy works. I follow him on Instagram, and I'm tired just trying to keep up with his posts.
Proud new owner of a Mercedes Sprinter van.
He must have got a diesel.
I think I asked him. Forget what he said. I'm pretty sure he did. We're still waiting on ours. I was hoping they would call today, but
yeah,
it's still early.
He's gotten more done this summer than I think, especially around the house. I mean, than I have in 10 years. By himself,
too. He's never got anybody helping him.
He's clearing the land.
I know.
Planting a garden, digging ponds,
just
laying stone.
Set up the whole shop.
Yeah.
This is another, it's a tough one.
Because we don't really rush, do we?
Not typically. Only if, something happens.
The hardest we probably worked was building the deck.
That's true. There was no time limit on that, though.
Yeah. Have we ever been under the gun to get something done?
Recently, like the Audemars watch thing, but nothing crazy.
That's the thing. People probably don't understand how small our shop is and how our pace of work. It's very human. We go by our clocks and everything like that.
Well, yeah, and I think the reality is that most other people just allow themselves to get into these situations where they don't they don't allocate enough time for a job, or they allow the clients to dictate timeline where we're not working any slower or faster than anybody else. We have the client to an understanding of it's going to take this long, and no matter what you say, it just takes this long. Like,
right.
It doesn't do us any good to work 100 hours a week.
No. Who said it to us the other day? Do you want it good or do you want it fast?
I think we were talking about that with Tommy and Joe.
Oh yeah. Tommy G, because he does stained glass, which is it's a similar kind of craft where you have to pay attention to what you're doing. It's not really something that you can blast through.
Yeah.
But we, there are those days where we go, wow, we got a lot done today. But that's just kind of just working at regular pace.
Yeah.
So we don't have anything like that. We haven't really been in business that long to have any kind of crazy story about being behind schedule and getting anything, getting something done.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. To me, it's like all these deadlines are flexible.
Mm-hmm.
If it looks like we're going to run late on a job and it's like we're a week behind schedule, I'm not going to put in an extra week. I'm not going to put in 2 weeks of work in 1 week before I call the client and say, hey,
Right.
Listen, we're behind. So this happened. The material was delayed. Something got fucked up, whatever. And have a discussion about it.
We can see the writing on the wall as far as timing goes.
Yeah. And, we want what's good for the client. So, again, if the situation was, no, they need it in a week and we had to put in 2 weeks of work in a week, then that's what we would do. But typically that's not the case.
Right.
And, people get into this Rob and Jack to pay Jill thing, or Peter to pay Paul, whatever you want to say, where they don't have a choice because they got to get paid on this.
Mm-hmm.
They need a progress payment on this job. So they have no choice but to get it done. But we try not to put ourselves in that position.
That's kind of a disappointing answer.
Yeah.
We got nothing there.
I mean, nothing really worth mentioning.
Got nothing.
I mean, Viz knows I was in the shop 5 o'clock a couple weeks ago because I
Yeah.
had to get that flower thing done, to deliver by 7 a.m. But
Same thing when
that's about as crazy as it gets.
Last Friday you came in at 6
With the scones for Tommy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, stuff happens, and sometimes you got to come in early, stay late, but...
Yeah, usually we spread it out. Like, we'll work over the weekend, like the computer work. We'll work on designs into the evening. But that's, that remote kind of work from home. We'll be talking electronically.
Mm-hmm.
So we tend to spread it out like that. Oh, look at this next.
This is going to be another riveting answer. I hate to break it to you guys.
Jaffet Hernandez on Instagram. He's one of our patrons, and he's asking, ever done an epoxy finish?
No.
No.
I can definitely appreciate... Now, we're talking about an epoxy finish, not like an epoxy, like, table.
Like a poured epoxy, yeah.
Yeah, on like a jewelry box or something like that, you get that super thick, like lacquer looking finish.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I can appreciate that in certain situations, but just haven't done it.
Yeah, the closest I ever came to something like that was when I was in the SFMC,
Mm-hmm.
and we'd have our weekly meetings on Thursdays, and we had our own
River table?
Yeah, no, there was no river table back then. It didn't come. I don't know.
Some homeless guy probably had one
Yeah,
under
I
a
know.
bridge.
Well, we had a bar in our clubhouse, and I took it upon myself to refinish it and put one of those epoxy tops on it, for that they sold in the 2 cans.
Yeah.
For bars.
That's what he's talking about. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. So I did that. It stunk the whole place up.
Yeah, but I mean like for things like that, like that's when you think of like a bar, like
In a motorcycle club.
right? Yeah, or like just like a bar, like not like a wet bar for your house, like a nice house, but like it has its place for like things like that.
Yeah, it was super thick, super durable.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably, that bar top is probably still in service.
Yeah,
And that was about 22 years ago.
bad. I think I was about
Yeah, what grade were you in 22 years ago?
22 years ago was that 1998?
Yeah.
Oh Lord, 3rd grade.
Yeah, I was riding with the SFMC.
Because for the millennium, I was in 5th grade.
We had that, the SFMC is the second oldest motorcycle club in the entire world.
In the world?
In the world.
Well,
The oldest, just by about 6 months, Yonkers,
wow.
New York.
YO.
Yeah, SFMC started in 1903. And you got to prospect to get your colors.
1903, wow. There were barely even motorcycles back then.
Yeah, that was the thing. So
it had bicycle pedals on it too.
Yeah, there are some old pictures in the clubhouse, especially like in the 40s and stuff like that. You could see the people there. They had like women involved, dressed almost like cheerleaders. You would think, like with wearing sweaters.
Yeah.
So it had a totally different thing going on before. The whole thing with the Hells Angels, that came about post World War II.
Yeah.
So before that, it was really like, an adventure sport kind of thing, because there were no roads really going cross country. There were a lot of dirt track. And, I wonder what the guys are doing. There's probably a few old timers still there from when I was there.
Oh, I'm sure. You see this next one's kind of like two questions that are intertwined.
Okay.
So I guess I'll read both and then we can answer accordingly. What materials do you want to work with that you haven't incorporated into your work yet? That's from Keith, our newest patron, our friend and patron, Blackthorn Concepts on Instagram. And now the second question that goes with that. Now that you have worked with steel, glass, and stained glass with your work, what other types of material would you like to incorporate? That's from Corey, CT Woodwork on Instagram.
Wow.
It's funny how we get these questions that are sort of interlinked like that a lot.
Well, I know I won't say one thing that I'm thinking of, because I'm sure you're gonna it's on your mind, and I'll leave that for you.
Okay.
I could always add it if you don't say it, but I'm sure you will.
Epoxy river table?
I knew it. One thing I worked with early on that I'd like to try again is like forged metal, which was pretty cool. What's left? Metal. I mean, there's stone. I've worked with stone. In fact, for the church in Tom's River, I got those stone veneers from Canada and used those for door panels. I can't think of anything off the top of my head. What are we going to velvet?
Only on our paint rollers. Were you going to say alabaster?
Yeah.
Yeah, so actually, that's why Keith brings this up. He had a little sub-question about the alabaster, which I omitted. But, so Keith actually has he carved this tulip out of alabaster, and you got to go check it out on his page. I mean, it's like one of the coolest things I've seen, the way that this stone is workable with just like regular kind of tools. So we have this chunk of alabaster that he gave us at the shop to mess around with. So I think that would be a really cool thing to incorporate. Excuse me. What else? I mean, I definitely think definitely want to incorporate more steel and stained glass.
Steel is great. I really like the way it complements wood. I like to get more into it being part of the mechanical fastening element, as well as an aesthetic element in a piece of furniture.
Yep.
Mixed with wood.
Yeah.
Because there's wood, there's stone, there's metal, there's glass. Plastics, yeah.
Canings, pretty cool. Leather.
Yeah. I mean, we've done some upholstery work. I've done a few headboards where I've mixed in upholstery. But generally, that's something that I'll prepare for an upholsterer. I won't even get into that.
Yep. I'm sure Corey even means in just a design element too.
Yeah.
All of it.
Yeah, everything.
That's the short answer. Or I guess the long answer at this point.
Yeah, you know what I'm always intrigued by too? Like incorporating mechanical technology. Like back when they were sort of just coming out. I never got to build one, but I always wanted to build one of those cabinets where the TV comes out of it, raises out of it. So I like stuff like that too, where we're incorporating technology.
Like that vanity we designed with the servo drive.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Stuff like that.
That's a story.
I'd say. So technology, moving parts.
Yeah.
That's what I'd like to get more of. All right, you want to move on? You want me to read the next one?
Yeah.
This is this is from Corey again, CT Woodwork. How do you cut out for butt hinges?
So me personally, I like to screw them on and mark them with a knife, and then I pull them off. Then I'll, define the knife wall with the chisel. And then I might use a router to hog out, the bulk of it, depending on what size hinge it is. And then I come in with a mortise butt plane. That's it.
Yeah. I'm pretty much the same thing from the beginning there, and then, but I'm, because of my tooling, what I have, I'm a chisel guy. But yeah, those little planes you have, those things are pretty cool.
Yeah, the mortise butt plane, made specifically for butt hinges, and it's basically a beveled down chisel with with a big sole, so you can reference on the jam.
That's it.
On the edge of the door.
It rides on the edge of the door on the outside like that.
It's just, believe me, I've done more hinges with just a chisel than I could even remember. Even just working as a finish carpenter and strikes and all that stuff. It's hard. It's next to impossible to get a perfectly, consistent thickness of depth on the mortise with just a chisel. So the mortise butt plane is really nice for that.
Yeah.
Because it's only going to cut as deep as you set it.
Yeah, because I always used to do the method where, you do all the little cross hits, and then,
Then the grain of the wood goes down, and next thing you know, you got a huge chunk out.
You got a little chunk missing out of the middle.
Yep.
It's like,
and that happens with the thing, too. Grain direction's everything. You got to reverse the thing sometimes, but...
this next question it's almost apropos to something we've been working on for about a week in the design phase. It's not refused. Nick Trayer on Instagram asks us, was there a time you refused to do something because of unrealistic expectations?
That table it's definitely been a head scratcher, but
refuse is just not the right word.
Yeah. I just can't think of anything. We rarely refuse to do anything.
Yeah.
We definitely passed on jobs before, but not having to do with unrealistic expectations.
No. Like if somebody wants the kitchen where they wanted those really narrow stiles and rails on the very big doors.
Yeah.
We kind of talked our way into a compromise there. We made them bigger, not as big as we would have liked, but
yeah, we saw what happened with those.
And so yeah, we don't refuse, but we'll try and kind of lend our experience and expertise, if you will, to the situation. See if we can convince somebody to alter their ideas a little.
Yeah, I guess we've had people with unrealistic budgetary expectations and we've refused. That happens all the time.
Yeah, if that's part of it, yeah, we just tell them, no, we can't do it for that.
Yeah. Say we got more than that material.
Yeah, that's the thing. People are a little bit removed from the cost of doing stuff like this.
Oh yeah, a lot removed.
This could be a pretty quick answer if we don't expound on it. This next question, are you on page 2?
Yeah. This is another one from Ryan, RP Woodwork on Instagram. What do you use the most, plywood or hardwood?
Yeah, that's
typically we use I'd say 75% hardwood and 25% plywood, maybe even more percentage-wise on the hardwood. But, again, it varies for the job.
Yeah, job to job. The commercial, there's not a stitch of, oh, no, we did those big tabletops.
Yeah.
Then solid walnut.
200 board feet of walnut.
Yeah, I forgot all about that.
That's more than some people use in a whole year.
Yeah. Like things like the confessional.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty good mix of hardwood and plywood.
Yeah, that's probably about maybe a 60-40.
Yeah, the altar rail, that's basically all hardwood. That the whole thing's, if you discount the stand,
the platform.
It's all,
which is wrapped in hardwood.
Right, it's all hardwood. The cherry
kitchen cabinets are going to be mostly plywood.
Casework, of course. Yeah.
But then we'll build solid casework too. Like we did that black, those 2 black wall units for Easton. There was a half a sheet of plywood and 2, two
just for the backs,
5 foot wide wall units.
Same thing for the cherry cabinet, just the back.
Yep. It has a lot to do with the budgetary constraints of the job, the aesthetic that they're going for. Well, I guess it depends. Every factor of the job, leads us to, the decision of what pieces are going to be sheet stock and what pieces are going to be hardwood.
Functionality of the material is always going to be taken into consideration as well.
Yeah, I mean, you want slab doors, big slab doors, but your budget is low. We got no choice but to make them out of plywood. So if you want us to do it and we want to do it, then we have no choice but to use plywood. But, if we can build big stave core and veneer them, then we'll do that.
Right.
But it all has to do with the specific situation. But as a whole, we use a good bit of hardwood. At least we try to.
Yeah. I'm just looking at this next question from Adam.
Mm-hmm.
He's built by AT on Instagram. He's also one of our loyal patrons.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even understand. I don't know what any of those things are.
I don't know what those acronyms are, but
you want me to read it?
Yeah, sure.
Do you use any kind of CRM or FSM software or app? I'm currently using Google Docs and Evernote to track everything, and I'm looking for something else to stay organized. Managing inquiries, quotes, hours, billing, etc. So
let's look up
CRM.
I've heard the terms CRM. Customer relationship management. Okay, so we're talking about stuff like home base, I know is one of those. FSM. Field service scheduling app. Field service management.
Okay.
No. So all of our customer correspondence is happening within either email, text message, and very infrequently phone call.
Right.
I personally, I like to have everything in writing, as insignificant as a conversation may be. So I like text or email because I can always go back and reference that, and I'll say, what the hell did I talk? What did they say? They wanted cherry or walnut. This way it's all in writing. Managing inquiries, quotes, hours, billing. Yeah, I mean, this is all basically 95% happening on email. We're not doing a huge amount of volume, so we're not inundated with like too much. So it's not really, more than we can handle just in that sort of,
The quotes are just, it's a file on the computer or a folder where it's going to be the drawing, it's going to be a spreadsheet and and a written document, and that's what we refer back to. We open up the Jones folder.
Yep.
How much we got materials on the Jones job, and we can see it there.
Yeah. Is it the best way to do it? No, but
No. There's two of us, and we run a pretty small business. So.
Yeah, I mean, when it starts, if and when it starts to pose a problem, then we can shift and do something else. But we're not fixing leaks that don't exist in the boat. So when the boat starts leaking, then we'll plug the hole. But up until that point, it's I wouldn't say wasted effort, but we only have so much that we can do, so that time is better spent somewhere else.
Yeah. And we're able to share these documents back and forth from our computers. So,
and it's all in the email. So, for example, we sent off a bid for this concierge desk at the building where we built the Chase Lounges. Now, we didn't get it. Somebody else got it. Some hipster guy up North Jersey.
He was less expensive than we were.
Yeah, and the design was about, he was probably 10% less expensive. And the design was, 35% less good.
Yeah.
So now they're saying, oh, he can't do it in the time frame. You think you guys could do it? Blah blah blah. I could just go back. I just search Celaya Concierge, my email. Email pops up. I go to the original bid. I don't even have to go to it's all on my phone, and I can access it from anywhere. So I like it in that way, that everything is just sort of searchable and accessible at all times. Like if I sent the bid to someone, then I can get it at any time. It doesn't even have to be saved on the computer. It is, but I can just always pull it up on my phone.
Yeah. I like it on the computer because the screen's bigger. I'm old.
I mean, I prefer it on the computer, but
like when I was looking at the drawings the other day, I kept having to expand them just so I could see things and scroll.
Oh well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that's
is this too much work?
It's bothersome, I like to see it all in one shot.
Your phone's only about a quarter of the size of your computer.
I know. I got the biggest phone and the smallest computer.
Yeah, I got this 27-inch iMac over here. This thing's huge. The screen, like when you full screen stuff, it still shrinks it down, like within the thing. You got to zoom it in to make it, because I think it thinks it's going to be too big for you or something.
I see. So we're not using any of those apps at the moment.
No, I mean, we've tried using Google Calendars and stuff just for would be intra business.
Yeah.
Intra-business scheduling, like things within the business, not business to business, but within this business, like Google Calendars, Asana, which remember the complete contempt that Deadwood approached that with.
Oh my God. And he had a bookkeeping background.
Well, because he couldn't do anything, so he didn't want to be told what he had and had not to do. To try and keep things organized. We tried out a couple things like that, but
it seems like if we got to the point where we had an office manager, that we'd have software like this in use.
Yeah, because it has to be accessible by everybody, and
right now we kind of know everything between us, what's going on.
Yeah,
it's like what are we doing today? Oh, we're doing that. Okay,
and like some of the information, like we don't even have to. Like some of the stuff I know and some of the stuff you know and the other one doesn't know because we don't both need to know. It's just,
right.
Okay, he's handling that, I am handling this.
It's easier that way.
Yeah. It's on a need-to-know basis sometimes. We got another one from Nick here, Nick Trayer on Instagram. To inlay or not to inlay? That is the question.
Oh, I like it. He's getting
Shakespearean on us.
Poetic, yeah.
What would you want to inlay into a piece you make?
Yeah, alabaster.
Yeah.
I mean, stone, it would be an awesome choice.
Yeah.
I know they do little bits of that, like in guitar work with the abalone and things like that, the shell. And with the watch stuff, you've done a little bit of, inlay with the metal.
Inlay. Yeah. Yeah, I think Yeah, like maybe something with the alabaster that's backlit or something like that would be cool.
Mm-hmm.
I like stringing, like holly stringing. You get that real, in something dark, get that real white, thin type of stringing. It's a super situational thing. Like we don't get a lot of work that would call for inlay. Nor do we typically have the sort of carte blanche on budget to incorporate it.
Right. Because that's a lot of handwork.
Yeah, and I don't know. There's just not a lot of demand for it.
That's true too. I mean, design wise, it's not really something that we incorporate a lot or are asked to do either.
Yeah. We I don't know how far you want to stretch the definition of inlay, but like, Cheryl's
Oh yeah.
inlaying a piece of walnut onto the edge of a shelf that's made out of solid cherry, stuff like that.
Yeah, I like that.
So we will, do stuff like that, but not any type of marquetry or inlay in that sense.
No, that's out of
not that we wouldn't do it, but
scope of work most often.
Yeah.
Hey, this is this next question from John, Trinity Tradesman. This is pretty appropriate. We got a good, solid answer for him.
We had to spill the beans.
He's asking, buy a saw-stop table saw or buy a grizzly table saw and jointer for the same money?
I mean, it's really...
We're the wrong guys to ask.
It's really hard. No, I mean, it's really hard to answer that because I don't know what kind of joiner you have. Like, if you don't have a joiner or your joiner doesn't really work, then I'd say you're better off with a grizzly table saw and a joiner, because then at least you have both working. Like the grizzly table saw is going to work fine.
Yeah.
But can't stress enough the benefits of the saw stop in terms of safety and it just being a good saw in general. But it's a hard one to answer.
Yeah, I happen to like the better made grizzly stuff.
Yeah.
I believe in those things. And because I understand what they are and what they aren't.
Right. It's not a Martin. It's never going to be.
Right.
Either's a saw stop, but
and it's to me priced really well. They got it down. They've been doing this for a long time. They're the first people to go over there to China and like get their factory all tuned up.
Taiwan.
What's that?
Taiwan.
Yeah, Taiwan. And they let you know this one's our C level, this one's our B level, and this one's our A level.
Yep.
Here are the differences. They don't try and sell you the C for the A price.
Right.
We got that $800 bandsaw still busting it out. It's not the greatest bandsaw ever built.
Yeah.
But it's $800 and
well, it used to be.
Yeah.
About double that now.
It's still kicking it out. And so we have a table saw, we have a unisaw, and we have a saw stop table saw as our main table saw. We got the industrial model, and we just made another purchase.
Yeah, we actually bought it from Grizzly Industrial, the Job Site Pro. We got as you guys know, we got the van coming, and need to start outfitting it for any type, all types of installs. So that's one thing that Deadwood had a table saw.
Was that a Bosch?
It was a 4100. But we haven't had a table saw in going on whatever it is 8-9 months.
Job site saw.
Right. Yeah. So it's just something we need. You can't sometimes on an install that the tool you need is a table saw. Sometimes there's no way around it.
Yeah, he didn't have his was mounted on a piece of plywood that he set up on one of those plastic tables.
Oh, I thought his had like a DeWalt stand or something.
That was for his miter saw.
Oh, I thought he had that little X-frame metal one.
Did he?
Maybe. It wasn't, whatever it wasn't very good.
But this one comes with the full on,
like that folding deal with the wheels.
Yeah, it's a dolly and it stands up on its own. And
yeah, I mean, you could buy 3 job site table saws for the price of this thing, but it goes to show you that we believe in the SawStop, the brand, as lame as that sounds to say.
The build quality and the technology.
Yeah,
to me, if I could only have even though we use the cabinet saw 90% of the time, and we'd use the job site saw 10% of the time. If I could only have it on one, I'd probably pick the job site saw because the conditions are always going to be
worse.
Yeah, you're going to be doing something that you probably wouldn't do.
You're out on a lawn, on uneven ground.
That's where you're going to have an accident.
Wacky, it's not like you're standing there ripping pieces on site. Like you're going to be scribing a piece of toe or a piece of fascia for a kitchen or whatever, stuff like that. It's going to be these weird, you're going to have to notch something around something.
Right.
So, you're always making weird kind of sketchy cuts on the table saw when it comes to install.
That's right. So give me that saw stuff.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't care. You know what's so funny is that it's such a small, even though it sounds like a lot, I could buy 2 or 3 of these other saws. Let's say 2, good other job site saws. It's double the cost.
It is triple.
With the stand and everything, too?
Oh, yeah.
All right.
You get like a Bosch or a DeWalt, about $500 or less.
Okay.
Maybe even $300.
Okay, so it is triple.
Maybe even 5 times more.
But let's say, what is that, $900 more? $800 more? What do we pay? $1,300, $1,500?
Oh, no. Yeah, I mean, after everything is $1,625.
Okay.
After tax, freight, all that shit.
But... So was it $12.99 or something like that, or $13.99?
$13.99.
Okay, so $1,400. We'll use that to compare to, let's say, $400. $1,000 in the whole scheme of things, the lifetime of the tool, and your use, your joy in using it, the safety in using it. It's $1,000.
Yeah.
I mean, if you got to save your money, try and save it somewhere else.
Right.
It's like, I always crack up where people buy a $20,000 motorcycle and then they buy the cheapest helmet they could find. It's like, that's not where you're looking to save your money.
Yeah. Or you buy a Lamello biscuit joiner and then you buy the cheapest Hafley biscuits that are all different sizes. And
It doesn't make any sense. It's $1,000. Are we worth it? Yes, we're worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to have that thing for how many years?
Right.
I look at it as by the day, So it's going to cost us $1 a day for 5 years?
Mm-hmm.
That's worth it.
Yeah.
Even if it sits 90% of the time.
I agree. When we need that saw, we're going to be happy to have it.
Yeah, I mean, what if we have to rip something big? We can set that thing up outside of the shop. We have a decent amount of in-feed and out-feed. But you get into these weird situations where you got to do something. It pays to have something that you could set up outside,
right?
Or we have to rip some kind of wacky material that or whatever. It's just another arrow in your quiver.
Yeah, I agree 100%. So there you go, SawStop table saw. For us, if you were pinched in for time and you had to have both tools, I'd go with the Grizzly stuff.
Yeah, like if you need a joiner, then get 2 good tools instead of 1 good tool. I mean, the table saw is not going to be as good as the SawStop, but it's pretty damn close.
Yeah.
Got another one here from Ryan, RP Woodwork on Instagram. Do you have any sponsors?
Well, we're proud to say we do.
Yeah, I mean, well, if you listen to the beginning of the podcast, I think that Ryan maybe he's going to start listening this week. This is the first time he's writing in, I believe. So we've been working with Montana brand tools now for, I don't even know, it must be
a couple months, 6 months.
Yeah, maybe 12. Has it been 6? No, it hasn't been that long. Maybe 2 or 3 months.
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I mean, I'm really bad judge of time thinking back in the past. But time does go so quickly.
We're at episode 48. Okay, so at least 10 episodes. That's episode 38. We got it on there. 34. I think that's when we started. It was episode 34. 33? Oh, no, 33. That's 15 weeks. So episode 33. Yeah, so for the last 15 weeks, I've been working with Montana brand tools. Now, we're not getting paid. The deal we worked out is, we wanted some product for the Patreon patrons to give away.
Give away stuff.
So, we do a little spot at the beginning, and they're awesome guys out there making stuff in Montana. So, I think it's a good fit for us, and who knows what type of sponsorship it may lead to in the future. But for us now, that's
we think it's fair.
Yeah, and even preferable to any type of monetary sponsorship because we're not going to be paying the bills with any sponsorships at this point. So might as well do something that benefits, the Patreon patrons. Which we should pick somebody this week. We'll give away another little Montana little prize pack. Should we
have like a secret question or something like that? So that somebody who's listening to the podcast answers a question and
well, it's got to be a patron though.
Yeah, patron. Yeah, not somebody. A patron listening to the podcast. I guess we could do it during the patron section. Yeah.
Give like a math equation.
Yeah.
Super complicated one. Whoever's the first to figure it out.
Yeah, I think they would figure it out before us.
It's possible.
This is our penultimate question.
Yeah. After this is the question of the week.
It's from Alex. Alex Mitchell, 84 on Instagram. Boy, I'm going to have to take a few breaths before I read this. So Alex, he's telling us, you guys sold me on the Real Milk Paint Co. tongue oil. I'm used to sanding cherry and walnut to 500 grit before I apply boiled linseed oil. When I sanded my cherry miter fence to 500 grit, the finish became rough to the touch after a few weeks. I called the sweet people at Real Milk Paint down the road from me. They recommend me to stop sanding at 150 or 180 grit. They said the pores are too tight in cherry, and when I sand past 220, the tongue oil can't get inside the wood. For lack of a better term, it sits on top of the surface. So, number 1, what grits do you guys sand to before using tongue oil? Number 2, after wood comes out of the helical head planer and joiner, what grit do you start with? Because of how smooth the lumber is, I start with 180, but would like to know what y'all, southern term, of course. I lived in Texas. I know y'all.
That's not the South. That's Texas.
Okay. So I'd like to know what y'all do after the Powermatic finishes its job.
Yeah, so I mean, I've heard the same thing about sanding too high with oil finishes. I've heard people talk about sanding to like 1,000 grit with oil finishes, and it just sort of has boggled my mind. But so we, I guess, addressing the first, typically we sand to 220.
Yeah.
Now, if it's like a surface that's going to be touched a lot, like a top of something, I'll go to 320 sometimes.
Yeah.
Apparently, Real Milk Paint is saying otherwise, and this is even like for cherry. I can't say that I've had the same experience. I mean, these were sanded to, I think, 320.
Yeah, we've gotten good results at 320.
Yeah. Done white oak at 320, cherry, walnut, and haven't had any bad experiences. But, yeah, so typically 220, and we get really good results with that. Like my bed, I was looking at it yesterday. Finished with Real Milk Paint, It's cherry, finished with real milk paint, tongue oil, sanded to 220, and it's 2 or 3 years old now. It looks great. It got nice and dark. It's still super smooth. I mean, it's in a house with a dog and a kid and a wife and me. So it gets banged up, and I mean, it feels great. It's still super smooth. It's not showing any signs of being dry. And I think I only have maybe 2 or 3 coats on there. Now after it comes out of the planer, I like to start with freaking fruit flies. Start with 120, always, unless there's something really bad, then maybe 100. But yeah, for me, it's always 120.
Yeah, 120 is my default grit. If it looks, nice, like there's absolutely no machine mark on it, which is pretty rare, because if you hold it to the light, you can kind of see it.
Yeah, like it feels smooth, but there's definitely machining marks on there.
And if it and that's only happens if it's like a smallish piece,
or I just made the toe solid oak toe kick, recessed toe for the thing. Like I just did that with just 150 out of the planer, because it doesn't really matter. It's gonna be down at the floor. A, you're not gonna see it, and B, it's not gonna get touched. But we're talking about like main pieces, I guess.
I'll typically spend as much time with the 120 as I probably do with all the other grits.
It's kind of like a pyramid for me. Like I spend the most time with the lower grits, and then it's less and less as it goes up. It's like when you're doing a chisel, when you get a new chisel, you spend the most time with the lower grits because you're flattening everything out.
Mm-hmm.
Then it takes less time when you go from 400 to 1,000. It takes less time at 1,000 to get the 400 marks out.
Right.
And then when you go up to 5,000, it takes even less time to get the 1,000 marks out.
Yeah, that's generally how I do it too. Spend most of my time with that 120, making sure that as best as I can, I'm wearing glasses, and those aren't always working. But I try and tilt it in the light, because that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
Sometimes something looks great, feels great, and then it'll get past every grit, and then you put that oil on, you go, how the hell did I miss that?
Yeah, little swirl marks.
Yeah, that's the thing. So, I mean, the helical heads are great, but every cut leaves a mark in there.
And, things straight out of the planer don't take finish very well.
No. So there you have it.
Yeah. And sorry to hear that you had trouble with it. 500. I didn't even know 500 grit was a thing.
No.
I seen 400 and 600.
Yeah. Maybe that's in metric.
Maybe that's a Tennessee thing.
Is he using the metric system down there in Tennessee?
Oh, I doubt it. You'll get shot in Tennessee for doing that.
Hey, boy, what are you doing with that metric system?
Does he have a European handbag? European carry-on?
A European man purse.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. Well, that brings us to the question of the week. You don't know already, the question of the week we answer in the Patreon after show, which is appropriately titled The Question of the Week. This week it comes in from our buddy Eric down Blake Woodworks in New Orleans, Louisiana. And Eric wants to know, I thought the pandemic would reduce people's expectation that every project can be completed in 24 hours. I call it the Amazon Prime mentality.
I like that.
It just seems the opposite. Completely unrealistic expectations, and of course, all this stuff we build is custom. What is your experience? So if you want to listen in on the answer, you have to join the Patreon.
Eric's a cool dude.
Yeah.
He's got a great logo, great T-shirt that he sent up.
That's one of my my go-tos, that shirt.
Yeah. It's a looker. We got a little shirt envy when those showed up, didn't we?
Yeah, that's for sure. Well, that brings us to thoughts on the beer of the week.
Yeah. You go first, I guess.
I liked it. It it definitely has a hazelnut kind of flavor, but not in like an off-putting way, which you find with a lot of these, beers that are labeled as whatever, hazelnut
Mhm.
or waffle or whatever. It was good.
Right. I agree. European brown ale, I'm learning a little bit each week, and I agree. The nuttiness was there. Definitely, as I finished like the last gulp, I could taste that nuttiness in it. I like the brown, the darkness of it. I guess, they're showing this little star back here. It has like some toffee.
Yep.
And I think
Which definitely has that smell.
Yeah, their description's pretty accurate.
Yeah.
It's not bitter at all, which you tend to like the more bitter, right?
Yeah. I mean, I like them all, but
yeah,
I default to sort of that juicy kind of bitter.
Mm-hmm. I'd easily drink another one of these again.
Oh yeah. With a pork chop.
With a vegan pork chop, with a tofu chop.
Bread pudding.
Doesn't that sound good? I love bread pudding.
Yeah, I mean, I could see like making like instead of like a brandy sauce, like a sauce with
Oh
this.
yeah. That would be good in a sauce. Yeah, reduce it down.
Yeah, it was good. Smells good. Tastes good. Not too crazy on the hazelnut.
Yeah,
Definitely not like a faux hazelnut.
Right,
taste.
It didn't taste fake.
Yeah.
So Rogue, hazelnut brown nectar.
Yeah, good stuff. I haven't had a Rogue beer in a long time.
This is probably available most places.
Rogue is one of the bigger craft breweries.
Yeah.
Dead Guy Ale is like a crazy popular beer that I feel like gets a lot of people into craft beer. Rogue Dead Guy.
Established 1988, Rogue.
Well, older than me.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank our gold tier patrons, Jerry Greenan, David Murphy, Manny Sirianni, Dustin Fayer, Adam Pothas, David Shoemaker, Colin Lai, and our newest, Keith Drennan.
Yeah, Keith going big.
Yeah. Gold star.
You gotta like that.
Well, we appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next week for episode 49, and hopefully we see you at the meetup on Saturday.
Yeah, don't forget, mark down that date on your calendars.
Yeah. Well,
Ciao.
adios.